So I'm Nigel. I'm a psychotherapist. I'm a counsellor. I'm a coach. We're called psychological coaches at Uprise. I've got 10 years of experience training counsellors to master's level. I've been practicing in various guises as psychotherapist, counsellor, coach, mediator for about 25 years. And before that, I was a lawyer. I don't think I need to say any more. Just that I continue to talk to lots of people and have lots of conversations, and that's, as a counsellor, that's what I'm best at. Yeah, I'm best at having conversations. So so that this isn't a one-way, what we call a didactic presentation from me to you. It'd be great if you can pop your questions in the chat. I'll be asking you some questions, so just pop your responses in the chat, and let's try and have a meaningful conversation about this. It's an important topic, but it's a poignant topic. It's very real, and what we're going to be looking at is, what is it about Christmas that causes loneliness and anxiety and distress? What are the factors? What are the different kinds of Christmases that we can expect people to be having across the country? We're not exclusively within Australia. Our Prize has a lot of international clients as well, and hopefully this presentation is relevant for everyone. And apologies if there's any kind of Australian centricity that comes through. That's a bit inevitable given where I'm sitting personally, and the fact that most of my lived experience of Christmases has been in Australia. So, and then we'll look at what we can do about it. So, what is it about Christmas? Well, everything stops at Christmas. It's a time of year when we have public holidays. They're kind of legally mandated holidays. All the shops shut. You can't be a normal person in a Western country or any country that celebrates a Christmas public holiday festival and continue to have a normal life. You're forced to stop work, and it creates the media and the talk and the hype and the culture, the socialized culture creates this impression that everyone seems to have something to do. Everyone seems to have people to be with. And there's cultural expectations around family togetherness. There's an assumption that families get together at Christmas and we have a good time together. And of course, this is grounded in a very, very Eurocentric, white Christian tradition, set of cultural traditions, and historically we know that it's not. But the way it's celebrated, it has also moved a long way from those original Christian cultural traditions as well. And we just need to acknowledge that not everyone is from that tradition. So I'm not going to get you to self-disclose personally, though you may if you wish. But I'm just going to invite you, sort of with that as a bit of a background, to share what you think might lead to loneliness. And we're not only talking about loneliness, but we're learning to, what might lead to anxiousness or sadness at Christmas. And the reason we're focusing on this is because we're looking at the juxtaposition of people's real experiences against the fantasy, against the illusion, against the idea that it's peace and love and joy, and that everybody's experiencing peace and love and joy at Christmas. And we're looking at the antitheses of those. So what do you think might lead to loneliness or anxiousness or sadness at Christmas? Feeling like everyone else is with family and kids and partners and you're not. Being away from family, the loss of family and friends. What else? Yeah, being away from family for a second year in a row. And we'll go on to look at the reasons for this in a moment. Because there's really good reasons why more and more people are feeling this way, particularly at the moment. So keep sharing your thoughts if you've got them. I'll keep on moving just for the interest of time. But don't. The beauty of this kind of format is that you can sort of reply to a earlier question, or you can make a comment on something that I've said earlier, and you can put it in the chat and it's still relevant. Yeah, a lot of disconnection from family. Let me just remind myself what I've done. Yeah. So I just sort of touch on that. Of course, COVID has meant that people haven't been able to travel. So that's changed things. People are restricted even going interstate. Last year, People weren't even able to spend Christmas with one another, even when they were together. For a lot of people, Christmas is a time of loss. It's a time when people remember the people in their lives that they've lost. That it's less a time of celebrating who I have around me, and it becomes more a time of remembering the people that I used to have around me, but that I can't spend time with anymore. Yeah, not being close to your family at all in the first place, perhaps. So think about your Christmas traditions. Think about what you've traditionally done, and share, what has the Christmas tradition been, and share if you've never had a Christmas tradition, if this whole Christmas thing's like, oh, this is just some, weird white fella thing that I've arrived in this country and this is what everyone seems to do, and I saw it on TV and, wow, it's actually real. Yeah, teenagers drifting away. Just reading things out of the chat. Yeah. What do you do? Yeah, what do you normally do at Christmas? What did you do when you were a child? Who do you normally spend time with? Who would you like to spend time with? When you go to Christmas, it's another thing. How welcome or included do you feel? Often we can go to a Christmas function, and this often happens when we go, for example, to our in-laws' family. And often people, we might be in a relationship or married to people, and we may not have a strong Christmas tradition, but their family does. So we go and spend time with them at Christmas, and we just feel like an outsider, and we don't actually feel very included. Often it feels like people are going through the motions of Christmas, and that the Christmas cheer is something that everyone's supposed to have, that they should have, but not really feeling it. What would your normal traditions be around, where to be? What are the symbols that you would normally associate with Christmas? What are the rituals that you would normally associate with Christmas? Is it Christmas trees? Is it going to midnight mass? Is it presents in the morning? Is it presents on Christmas Eve? What's your normal traditions? What are the rituals around what to eat, when to eat, and gift giving? And realizing that we've all grown up with different traditions or none at all. And so thinking about that, in addition to yourself, have a think about who within your wider community, who are the kinds of people that you think might be the most lonely, or anxious or sad during Christmas. And why do you think those people might be feeling more lonely, anxious or sad than other people within your community? So community means your social network, your friends. It means the people that you work with. It means anybody that you kind of see, when you're walking down the street, or that you're aware of, either because you spend time in an active way or you spend time in other ways. So we've got older people. Yeah, older people are a huge group. Yeah, a huge group who have lost all those family connections, who have a long history of Christmas tradition and have kind of this expectation that it's Christmas and it's time to spend time with family. Nursing homes tend to kind of try hard. They put up a Christmas tree, they put up Christmas decorations, they try and create some Christmas cheer and have a Christmas dinner. But a lot of the time for the older people, it's just remembering that, the people that they used to enjoy spending Christmas with, the people that they used to love, even the people that they'd have their Christmas fights with. Migrants with no family, single people who don't have family nearby, single people who are living alone, younger people from broken families, children who are perhaps in care, and of course children who are, have separated parents and are living and moving across from one household to another, even on Christmas Day or around Christmas, or their parents live too far away to be able to spend Christmas with one of the parents. And of course that parent then is also left in a very lonely position. So what does feeling lonely at Christmas tend to look like? And we've sort of touched on these already. If you come to, and people tend to kind of just put it off. It's something that you can, there's things in our life that we just keep out of the edge of awareness. And as we kind of go, yeah, I've got to do work, and it's the end of the year and it's really busy. And someone was commenting like, the other day, like, all organizations seem to be like, oh my gosh, it's like a bookend. Here comes Christmas. Here comes, my gosh, we've all got to we've got to all work extra hard, and we've got to keep just go until Christmas, and then you kind of go boom, and these people, you might be one of these people who arrives at Christmas, and it's like, oh, how did I get here? And suddenly that kind of, I knew it was coming, but I've been able to avoid it and keep myself busy up to this point. Suddenly I've got nowhere to be. I've got nothing to do. I've got no one to spend time with. I feel like I don't belong. I feel like I don't fit in. I feel like I'm not really accepted or wanted anywhere. I'm remembering loved ones lost. I'm remembering better times when maybe I did feel a sense of community and festivity at Christmas. And maybe I'm involved in those unfamiliar traditions and symbols around and rituals around food, gift giving, mass, religious ceremony, just the how of Christmas. People have commented that people with reduced income are less able to participate in Christmas. People who are already feeling lonely and socially isolated are also going to feel lonelier during Christmas. It's going to kind of, for people who are already anxious and sad and lonely, and they're anxious and sad and lonely at Christmas, Christmas kind of rubs it in their face, rubs their own social isolation in their face, and can create really difficult feelings. The other thing that comes up at Christmas is around dilemmas and tensions, and this is for anybody who's participating in Christmas events, even if they are kind of your customary, what we'd expect in an Australian culture of a family Christmas. There's decisions about who to spend time with, particularly within a couple and within families. There's always the tension between between whose family do we spend time with, and if a couple, if two members of a couple are both from broken families, then there's his and her, there's his mum, his dad, her mum, her dad. Where do the siblings go from each side? Where do you want to be? I know people who just go, you know what, too hard, we're just checking out. For many people, 2020 was a huge relief. It's like, oh gosh, we don't have to make the call. We don't have to offend anyone by not going to Christmas. It's a real dilemma. And then a lot of people try and make everybody happy. They try and be somewhere on Christmas Eve, somewhere on Christmas morning, and somewhere on Christmas afternoon. And then sometimes they even go, well, and then we'll fit in kind of a Boxing Day thing with that other part of the family. So you're trying to be everything to everyone, and it gets really difficult. And then when you get there, you haven't seen each other at this stage. You probably haven't seen each other for 2 years. And if it was the off Christmas in 2020, in 2019, then you may not have seen people for 3 years. And you come back together, and you might be a little bit hopeful, you might be a little bit nervous, but then you come back together again, and then those old family tensions, the old disagreements, the things that people have just sort of buried or pushed to the side or pretended weren't there, just sort of getting on with business, getting on with life, suddenly they're back again. And the feelings come back, the feelings of frustration and irritation and annoyance and even rage comes back. Certainly whenever I went to my partner's family Christmas, it was like tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, boom, and then there would be a massive fight every time. When we planned Christmas one year, we were like, all right, we were like brainstorming. Okay, let's how do we get the issues out without it turning into a big fight? We actually came up with a game called Family Payout, where you pulled a name out of a hat, and you got to tell a funny story about that person. Because if we didn't, then those funny stories would come out, but they would be mean, and they would make people upset, and they would make people angry, and then people would get hurt, and then there'd be a screaming match. What about if either you're putting on Christmas and you've got people with dietary needs, you've got people who accept certain kinds of presents, they don't accept certain other kinds of presents. Where do people sleep? Who gets the nice guest bedroom? Who's got to sleep outside in the tent? Who's sleeping on the living room floor? How do you make it fair so that everybody's feeling like that they're well accommodated? And what if you're the guest? What if you're the guest and you get the fancy spare bedroom, but the other brother or sister is made to sleep on the floor or outside in the tent, and they're all cranky about it? What if you're the one who's forced to sleep outside in the tent, or you're the one who's forced to pay for accommodation while the favourite sibling gets the main bedroom? How do you deal with that? There's a real dilemmas. Any thoughts that you have around these things? Any other kind of dilemmas and issues that come up over Christmas that you'd just like to share in the chat? That please do. So what do we do? What do we do? And I'm trying to cover a lot of different bases here. Help me if I've missed anything or anyone that's standing out to you. But the next bit is around overcoming it, and I'm trying to look at overcoming for you and for others, also for you as well as for other people, and thinking about loneliness, anxiousness, sadness, and conflict as well. So to overcome loneliness at Christmas, start now. Start now. We're 16 days out, 15 days out. So there's still time. There's 2 weeks. Take a moment, and that's what you're doing here today. You've stopped and you've paused and you're thinking about Christmas and the fact that it's coming. That there's these days where you're not allowed to go to work. You have to either stay home or go and have Christmas somewhere, and you're reflecting on all the expectations that you're perceiving around that, and think about your previous Christmases, in your mind. I can feel myself doing it now. Think about your previous Christmases. How have they gone? What's gone well? What hasn't gone well? What's gone wrong? What kinds of feelings have you felt at previous Christmases? One of the things that I often say to clients is the best predictor of the future is the past. There was actually a really lovely book on psychotherapy that was called Predictable Difficulties. And what it talks about is that realistically, we're really good at predicting the future as human beings. It's like one of our unique faculties as human beings to be able to predict future events. But often we don't engage that faculty very well. The best predictor of the future is the past. So if we look at the past, look how things have gone, we can predict, we can expect that that's very likely to be how things are going to go in the future. Now, some people will say, "Oh, you've got to think positively. Be hopeful. Don't put a negative spin on things." Sure, but realistically, what's happened in the past is going to happen in the future. And so, rather than just hoping that things will get better, do what you do at work, which is you go, well, last month this happened, so this month let's make a plan. Last year this happened, so this year let's make a plan. Last Christmas and the Christmas before and the Christmas before and the Christmas before, this happened. Let's not just turn up and make a beautiful feast and give away lots of presents and hope that it's all going to go better this year. Make a plan. Think about how Christmas is likely to go. You know what's going to happen. You know who the people are. You know the personalities. And if there are no people, you know that that's going to happen too. You know you're going to arrive on Christmas Day and go, oh, I didn't really think about what was going to happen today. So think about it. Make plans well in advance. If there's something that you're aware of, if there's something that you're concerned about, make a plan for it. Like my partner and I made a plan. There's going to be a fight, so let's put the argument into a game. And it worked. There wasn't a fight that Christmas. There were a few sort of stung feelings, and to be honest, I think I became the butt of most of the jokes. But it was my partner's family that tended to have the fight, so they were able to make me the butt of their jokes. I was like, no, I didn't mind. That was fine. Communicate early. If you've got concerns, if you've got worries, if you're aware that things are likely to go awry, think about how you can preempt those things, how you can communicate with the relevant people to make a bit of a plan about how to navigate those predictable difficulties. Listen to yourself. Tune into your feelings. Often we feel like preemptive anxieties. It's like our unconscious knows what's coming, and we have occasional glimpses of it, but we just go, oh, shush, I don't have time for you, just be quiet. I've got my work to do. I've got to do parenting, got to get the kids to the end of school. I've got all these things I've got to do. And have a little listen. What are your feelings telling you? Listen, do what they might suggest. Brainstorm, make a bit of a plan, but also let yourself be the priority. If it's going to be uncomfortable where you're staying, then find somewhere else to stay. Book accommodation. Pay the money. And don't mind when they say, oh, you were working with us. I don't know what I have to say elsewhere. Just say, oh, that's just what I felt like doing this year. If you want to stay home, stay home. If you don't want to get involved in all of the family BS, then don't. If Uncle whoever starts to get drunk and starts to make those sounds or, reach out and touch places that shouldn't be touched, then leave. Walk away. Distance yourself. One of the great things to do at Christmas is to be aware of your own emotions, and when they start to rise, walk out the door, walk around the block. Here in Australia, we almost always have some bushland, a beach, a headland, a lake, a river, somewhere to go to stop and think and come back. And you can think about Christmas is you can duck out for an hour, you can duck out for 2 hours, and no one really notices. And so don't make Christmas about them. Let Christmas be about you. And tell yourself that if you have a good Christmas, then other people will have a good Christmas too. And that actually you having a good Christmas is the most important thing to you. Be okay with that. Focus on connection. That Christmas is about connection. And this is for everyone, but particularly for people who haven't actually got a plan for Christmas, who don't have people to be with. Ever think about, I've gone into this in detail. Oops, I forgot about that. Don't you hate that when you sort of have your slides all laid out and then you talk about it anyway. So I've probably said the same things. So I've got a question here. We'll see how do you act with a person who you know it is going to be their last Christmas? You love them and you show them kindness and you revel in the joy of being able to spend time with them. And if you're close to them, I imagine that you hold their hand. And if it's going to be the last Christmas ever, they're going to die, then you talk about past Christmases and you share stories and you let them talk and you listen to what they have to say. But mostly they'll just be happy to be there with you. One of the most terrifying things about knowing you're going to die is the fear of dying alone. And we all die alone. But other people who are with us and who accept us entirely as we are and let us be as we are really makes that feeling so much easier. Okay, so I'm going to be repeating myself a bit. So what have I missed? Okay, that triggered feelings of loneliness. How might you predict? Realistic expectations. But yeah, practice acceptance of what is. All right, good. What kind of Christmas do you want? What can you do about that? Who do you need to consider? Have you talked to them that? Yeah, what needs to be discussed? Focus on meeting one another's needs. Make a rough plan. This is a good one. Make a rough plan, but don't expect things to go to plan. Yeah, make a plan. Use your powers of expectation, but don't actually hold too tightly. This is kind of the real balance of life, isn't it? Making plans, setting goals, things we want to achieve. But as soon as you hold too tight, it creates tension and anxiety. So we've got to be able to hold that very loosely and then be adaptable to change. What do you need? What makes you feel good? What are the things that you want to do? Who do you want to connect with? Good, if you're on your own, good books, good TV series. They used to call them box sets, but now we just call it, some Netflix series. Get into something, get crafty if you like craft, paint, make music, fill up the bath, go to the beach, walk in the bush. Do what's good for you and take time out for yourself if you are with family. Some good comments there in the chat. I'll read that in a moment. Who do you want to connect with? Why are they important to you? And I think this is really a really important one too. Who else might be feeling a bit lonely this festive season? It's like I think that's a question that can break you out of the woe is me. I'm going to be alone at Christmas. I don't know what I'm going to do. Oh, I can't see my family. I really want to see my family. I can't see my family. I really want to see my family. Well, hang on a second. Who else is in the same boat? When I was living in the UK, we used to call it the Orphans' Christmas. And, leading up to Christmas, we'd just be putting the word out. Who's got nowhere to be? Who's got no one to be with at Christmas? Who's at loose ends? And we'd have this Christmas, and all the people who didn't have family would come, and we'd make a Christmas dinner, and we'd do Christmassy things. And to be honest, we'd get ridiculously drunk, and it was nice. It meant that we weren't all sitting around going, oh, I feel so sad. We were well and truly engaged in connecting with other people. And who are the people who are, in more need than you? Yeah. And have a think about what you might be able to do for them. If you're really at loose ends, if you've really got nothing to do, then, see if you can connect either with a charity, a homeless shelter, a women's shelter, who might want some Christmas cheer, who might, benefit from having you in their life at Christmas. Okay, there's a couple of helpful resources. So if people are feeling really down and feeling really worried, Sane Forums also has some telephone counselling services, and Beyond Blue is really good for again telephone support, and there's a bunch of numbers there. So Sane Forums and Beyond Blue. There are some useful apps, useful modules in the Uprise app. One is control versus acceptance. I think that's going to be really useful for this particular topic. Just looking at what can you control, what can't you control. And I think those last few slides have really touched on that. Whether or not you're alone at Christmas, how the rest of your family and family group behaves, where people are, what the government's doing, the extent to which you and other people are able to travel, all things that you can't control. So needing to accept those things, and then looking at, okay, well, what can I do? And there's a huge liberation that comes. That is, as soon as in the dialectical behavior therapy, they talk about radical acceptance. And as soon as you go, you know what, this thing that's been that's had my mind absolutely caught, going, oh no, this isn't fair, it's wrong, I don't like this. And as soon as you go, you know what, I radically accept that this is what is, it's really liberating. I just noticed myself breathe as I did that. And it's like, oh, I can breathe. And actually, once I free my mind from looking at all the things that I can't control, I'm freed up to go, okay, well, what can I control? What can I make happen? What do I actually want, and how can I make that a reality? A podcast called The Calm Christmas Project by Beth Kempton focuses on Christmas in the Northern Hemisphere and shares some great ideas about how to take the stress out of Christmas, focus on what's important, create new traditions that are meaningful to you. Episodes are short and her voice is lovely and soothing for anyone who's feeling stressed about Christmas and the lead up. Thank you very much for sharing that. All right, so that's it. There should be a link coming through in the chat. Thank you very much for your presence here today. It's been nice. Hopefully you've taken something useful out of this, and at the very least had an opportunity to reflect on your Christmas and what you might be able to make happen and even prevent happening at your Christmas this year. All the best and Merry Christmas.